get loose.
Get yourself settled. We are actually live right now, I believe. So we always go live. Yeah, it looks like we're live. We're gonna give it one more second. I like blooper reel at the beginning. How do you feel about that, Caleb? You
The
like doing a
blooper
little
reel?
blooper reel at the beginning every time we go? It's the nature of the beast with Zoom. We're always live before we know that we're live, and we're live now, so we're bloopering. Just go ahead and move yourself around, get yourself settled in. I'm all about the inner child. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll get us started. Hello and welcome to Forever After That. I am your host. My name is Diana, and I am welcoming one guest, maybe two. We'll see if our other guest decides to show up, and if he doesn't, we're just going to spend an hour with Caleb, who is someone who's worked a lot with me, has been around. I've known him for quite a while, actually, since he's my nephew, but he has so much to offer. So please welcome Caleb to the show.
We should get like a little soundboard, so when you introduce people, you can do like the clapping noises and everything.
How's that? I give you a drum roll. What are you up
Okay.
to, Caleb? Let's just talk. Let's have some fun.
I'm in Abby's room. Because the whole "what are you up to" thing is kind of a difficult thing to answer, all things considered, like going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to, because I feel like we're all kind of working towards different things, but being on a younger generational ambition, I want to say is the word, but that's not the right word. We're working towards different things, and I feel like our generation is kind of working towards I don't want to say violence, but a more progressive open-mindedness. And whereas other younger or older generations were a bit more lenient towards not having it, our generation is getting kind of agitated. So we're working towards that. And I'm not gonna stay here and speak for an entire generation of people, but I've noticed that the people that are more open-minded and more open and aware to spirituality and stuff like that are definitely, they're working towards something, and I feel like
Right.
I'm definitely a part of that.
Yeah. Do you feel like let me just step back a little bit, because this show is all about the mystical. It's all about having experiences with like with me. It all came about Forever After That is from Steve. My experiences with Steve. And so you and I have been kind of working together on some projects for a while. And if we step back just a little bit, all of this beautiful cover and all the photography in the book that you created with Paul when we went to Boston. So we've really come a long ways. Honestly, that was such a different time, even like on the planet. And so going back to what you were talking about, I can see it too. I can see where many of you kids, you younger generation, you've come into this planet with a mission, and there's no messing around anymore. It's like, nope, we're here to make a change, and we're going to make it right now, right here. We're making our stand. Is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, and I feel like that's yesterday when we were talking about being on the show, and my concern was that I didn't know what to talk about, but it's definitely been something prevalent in the past couple of weeks, and especially the last couple of months when all this started, is that it's really easy to see now, especially with the border between what's the word I'm looking for? It was just the border between what is the physical world and what's the mental and metaphysical world is so thin that it's really easy to see how the most minuscule events in your life have built up to what's happening now. Like, I think we talked about this when we were in Boston. We said that, well, the metaphor that we used, two different metaphors. You used a snowball and I used a train, but they meant the same thing. And you said a snowball starts small and you push it down a hill, and then at the end you have this huge snowball that hits something and causes some kind of change. Whereas a train is you're driving forward. Sometimes you got to get off and then you get back on and you keep going forward. And I feel like the snowball metaphor works better here, in which that you can take it back to when you can take it all the way back to your birth. But when we wrote Anchor Light, we had this intuitional feeling that it was going to do something, but we were younger and naive, and we thought, oh, it's going to sell millions of copies and it's going to be this book that changes the world, when in reality it changed our perception of how we want to live and how we want to live exist in the world, to the point where 2 years later we're doing things that we never, ever, ever thought that we would do. We never thought, or at least I can say that I never thought that I would have the life that I have now. And that's all because of the really, really, not even the big stuff. The big stuff, if you take it out of the equation, it wouldn't even change that much, but it's the small things, like deciding to eat one thing over another at lunch, that built up to everything that we're doing at any given point. And how we get to where we are in each moment is based on stupid seconds worth of moments yesterday and the day before that, if that makes any sense. That's kind of complicated to keep up with.
Well, there's a million different ways. If you really want to go into the idea of every decision that you make has a different reality. Everything can just, so everything that we do, because, okay, well, I decided that I don't want one restaurant, I want something else. So I decided to go in a different direction, and I'm crossing by different paths, and I'm meeting different people. And I can see in my life where the decisions that I made, the most incredible thing to me is that no matter what we do, everybody's so concerned about, am I on the right path? Am I doing this? I hear that question all the time. Am I on my path? Of course you're on your path, but every decision that you make will send you off into different directions. And at the same time, it seems like somehow, by some miracle, we still end up where we're supposed to be. Eventually, we always end up getting there. Some of us, me, always seems to like to take the long way, the difficult way. I think that runs in the Allison blood, which you've got in you too. We can't do things the easy way. But the things, the experiences that we've had along the way have built us and changed us and created, I think, the difficult stuff. Maybe that's the reason why we want to go through all that difficult stuff. It creates something even more incredible in us. All of that, it's all just a part of this beautiful experience. Like, we're just here, always learning and always growing. So I am just, if I can say that on screen, I'm so impressed with you, the ability, the photography, the way that you see light, the way that you write, the book that you wrote, the way that you see things differently than me. Because I can sit here and say it one way. You can take what I said and change it to something that a 20-year-old or a 22-year-old or a 15-year-old is going to understand. And so that's what it's all about. It's getting together with all these different perspectives, these young people seeing things differently, and people like you that step up to the front, and you have a voice for those people, and you can help them to understand things that older ones we might not be able to do. So you can take that and run with it.
We talked about that once. Well, two things. One, you were talking about the path, and it reminded me of I went to Savannah. I told you the story before. I went to Savannah, Georgia, a couple of years ago. Like, I think a year before we had anything to do with Anchor Light. And I went to see a psychic, and the whole story about the psychic is irrelevant to the story. But at the end of it, she said, you can ask one question. And I asked her if I was on the right path. And she said, there is no right path and there is no wrong path. There's the path to happiness, and that's it. And I was like, that's stupid. I was 16 years old, and I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No, I'd have been 18. Regardless, it was stupid to me at the time. And then I look back on that, and I'm like, she's right. There is no right thing to do. There's no wrong thing to do. There's what you do and how it affects you, and you're just still on the path, and that's it. I know it's frustrating for people to understand that everything they do is, their responsibility, because it's easy to blame yourself if one bad thing happens. You're like, well, if I had done it differently. No, there is what happens, supposed to happen, right or wrong. You're still on the path. And as far as the transcriptions go, I feel like we've talked about that before too. And that's what my book was about, is that I literally started it with, here's everything that I've ever learned. I just didn't understand it. So I'm going to transcribe the entirety of what I've learned over the past couple of years into a language that people my age would understand. Because it's not that they don't want to listen, but they don't want to listen. Like, if you go in front of a professor who's 60 years old and he starts teaching you history, you're going to be like, okay, this is boring. But if you put someone that's closer to their age, for some reason, they want to listen. And that's just how it is, because they can relate to them. And that's just how things are. They can still understand what it's like to be a 20-year-old. Whereas I feel like, the older you get, the more you forget how stupid how much you want to be stupid when you're a kid, which is weird, but there are a lot of times when I find myself wanting to still be a dumb kid who makes dumb kid decisions without responsibility, without having to worry about the consequences. And I feel like younger people are able to teach even younger people in a way that allows them to still understand that, if that transcribes well.
It makes perfect sense. You know, I've raised 6 kids and others in the process too. And I always I love to study people. I'm a people watcher, and even my own kids. And they get to an age like they're little and they worship you. Like, my mother is the most amazing person on the planet. They think you're so awesome, and they want to be with you. Abby in particular wanted to, oh my gosh, she was just absolutely glued to me. I couldn't go anywhere without Abby. You know, she just wanted to, everything, everywhere. And then she came to this point where she was starting to pull away and get into her own things, and she wanted to talk more, you know, with other people. And now she doesn't really want anything to do with me. She's at the age of 13, and sometimes she'll check in, but she doesn't really have that need. To her, she doesn't really, I don't speak the same language that she does. She still loves me. She still gives me a hug every now and then. Every now and then she wants her mom, but mostly she would like to speak with you. She would like to speak with Caroline. She would like to speak with kids her own age. So it's absolutely imperative that we have people like you. They're coming in now. She came in super wise. You know, she's an old lady in a little person's body, and she is super wise. And also, like, if you think about Jackson being so difficult from a very young age, and that's where, to me, it pulls into my parenting skills. I have to pay attention to that metaphysical side, to the side of them that came in here for something, and they're not going to fit into the box. My kids absolutely will not fit into the box that society wants to create for them. They're here to do something different. And I think you and many kids are. You talk about these crystal children, you talk about the indigo children. I was blessed with a house full of super sensitive, psychic, maybe they haven't figured out who they are yet, incredible old soul people. And so it's important for me to step back and go, wait, you know, hands off. Right now, when they need me, I'm here. I'm here to pick up the pieces, but I can't try to fix it all the time, and I can't smother them. I have to give them the opportunity to become what they came here to be. And I think that's a really important thing to talk about too. And do you have no opinion?
Yeah. No, I do, because I don't want to sit here and like talk about, you know, I don't want to throw people's personal business out there, but I live with Caroline, so I get to sit there and watch her do things. And when she's creative, she creates. There are no limits, there are no stipulations, no rules. She'll grab a canvas, she'll grab a piece of paper, whatever she wants to paint on, and she'll grab oil pastels or watercolor or whatever she wants, and she just goes. And she's got pages and pages and pages of just whatever she wants to make. And then now she wants to go and teach kids how to do that. And she's like, yeah, I want to be an art teacher, but I don't want to make them do it any certain way. I want them to do it how they want to do it. And it's an amazing thing to watch someone who wants people to be genuinely creative and not, you know, force them to do it a specific way. It's scary because I can sit there and watch her create a masterpiece like Bob Ross. She's like, I'm going to paint clouds. And she goes, doop, doop, doop. And she's like, oh, it looks terrible. And I'm like, they're clouds. She just painted clouds. And she acts like nothing ever happened. But she just does things. And I feel like even with all of them, Jackson's, you put him down with a video game, and 2 hours later he's mastered whatever game it is, and then now you don't even want to play with him because he's already beaten everything. It's these kids, and this is why the whole being sick of the way things are now is going to be a problem very soon. I mean, it already is. They don't want to be contained, and they will not be contained. You will not contain these children. We're 20 years old, 22, 23, 24, you know, that's one thing. But the kids that are kids Abby's age, younger than that, who are going into, I don't want to say adulthood, but figuring out who they are as people, they will not. They won't take it. They won't. They will fight to be who they want to be. They won't. They just won't abide by rules, especially rules that have been set in place by people. Yeah.
Well,
Can you
don't you
imagine?
feel like, go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just gonna say, can you imagine a world where no one was limited? Obviously,
Right.
there are certain things that should be limited, but creatively and you know, especially creatively, but that's the one I'm going to focus on. Just no limits. Don't set, you know, don't guide them to be a specific way. There are no molds. You just let them do what they want to do.
Hmm. Yeah, they got to have guidance. They got to learn certain things, but we try so hard to fit our children in. I think oftentimes parents, they give birth to children, they want little mini me's running around. They want them to be just exactly, or they want to be, they want to live vicariously. Like I didn't get to be that kind of kid. I didn't get to do all the sports. I didn't get to be, have music lessons. I didn't get to do all that stuff. So now I brought this person into the world and I brought them into the world to please me. I want them to do all the things that I missed out in life so that it can somehow make me so proud that I can show off my kid to somebody and say, my kid does all these things. And there was a time when I was like, man, what I really missed the boat. Like, what am I going to do? These kids, they know they won't. They absolutely fought it tooth and nail. And if they were in public schools, they were sick. They were lit. Caroline, my gosh, it was a migraine every day being in there because she is so super sensitive. And so at some point, we have to realize that these kids that are coming into the planet, they're more advanced than we are. If you look at kids that are autistic, they just are way ahead of the game. They can't. They're so sensitive that the world is like just kicking them, like all the time. It's like their nervous system is on fire. It's because they're in a more advanced um, body, however you want to, and so that they're just not able. They can't. Jackson, I we used to carry him kicking and screaming into school every day until I finally said, all right, I'm just going to homeschool this kid. And he started learning about, he'll sit and study everything about something that he wants to learn about, and he'll know every detail about it, and he can talk to the most intelligent people on the planet. You can put him in a college now and he could talk his way into just about anything, talk about anything if it's something that he's interested in. But I really feel like these kids are like, they know intuitively somewhere inside of them. If you just talk to their egoic side, they're like, I just want to go play a video game. But inside of them, they know that there's something bigger. And those video games may very well open that can of worms. I remember once someone said that Minecraft was teaching kids to do a job that doesn't even exist yet. And
And
so,
that's my problem with the whole video game thing is I feel like parents you're not watching what your kids are playing. Like you still think it's Super Mario and a football game, when in reality, these games are teaching kids things that they never, all right, there goes my phone, that they never, specifically Jackson, there's a game called, I think it's called Factorio, where they literally have to design an entire system to run an entire factory. It's a video game, but at the same time, it's teaching him management skills, time management skills, like entrepreneurship skills. It's teaching him things. You put him there for 2 hours, you let him learn every aspect of the game. He comes out of his room like 6 hours later and he's designed something that he would never, I don't even know how to describe it. These games are different. They're a lot different than when people were growing up and they played I don't even remember what games used to play.
Pong.
Yeah, Kong, Street Fighter, stuff like
Pong.
that.
I'm talking about Pong was really bad.
Pong? Oh yeah, yeah. It's just ping pong. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get there. We'll have to get there. And we better do it quickly. That's
We are
because
getting there. We are getting there. These kids give me hope. It's not just my kids. I'm watching kids. I listen to them talk, and I'm just like, they're here to save the world. Truly, they've come here to save the world. Many of them. They're light workers too. We always think, wow, I'm grown up. I've done this and done that, and I've trained at this. I've gotten this kind of schooling, whatever. And so obviously, but I'm telling you, these kids came into the world even as little bitty people. They're already working. Their energy is already creating from the time that they're born. And our job really sometimes, I think, is just to step out of the way. Just, get out of their way. Stop trying so hard to force them into the box. And I also feel like this virus has brought us to our knees in many ways, but it's also opened our eyes. Kids can't be in public school right now. Parents are having to be with their kids. Parents are going to are looking at what their kids are learning. The kids have more free time. They're it's like, I feel like we're suddenly having these opportunities to look at the financial system and the way how it's working. It's why some people have so much and some people have so little, and people are working so hard, and maybe we're being taught that we didn't come here to work so hard. We came here to play. We came here to have fun. We came here to do what we were meant to do. And when you do what you were built for, what you were created for, it doesn't feel like work. I can work at this kind of stuff is what I came here for. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels good to me. And so I feel like we're in this time of where these things are being pointed out to us, and schooling is one of those. I feel like suddenly the whole system of the world has been shaken up. That's what I see.
No, the issue with it is that people think it's a negative thing. They're not actively trying to see that parents are having to pay attention to what their kids are doing, and the economy is collapsing, and we can't go to football games anymore. But that's just how.
Movies. Can't even go to a movie theater. I wanted to go see a movie last night. There's no movie theaters. All the things that we used to do are completely changed. And then we've also got these other things going on. Obviously, this whole racist stopping all of this with the police brutality, and suddenly you're seeing where those things that were those statues of these figures that truly were not necessarily our heroes, they were not nice people, are being taken down. And those titles for different things like that are Confederate, things like that, suddenly we're seeing where we're waking up to the fact that we need to start focusing on equality, that we need to start focusing on kindness and compassion. It's like we're in a time right now where we're just flying, and in my lifetime, I've never seen a movement like what's going on right now. I've never seen this many young people come out of the woodwork and say, okay, I'm done. No more of this. It's got to stop. And
Yeah,
I mean, you
and
guys been out
that's what I was going to say. You're talking about the United States of America. It has never felt more united than when you're standing in a group of hundreds of people, if not thousands, and they're all screaming the same thing at one time. It feels like you're an actual United State. Like everyone's trying to do the same thing, and it's to build this, not just racism, but sexism, transphobia, stuff like that. They're trying to just eliminate inequality on all fronts at one time, and it is a beautiful thing. You've got older people out there, you've got all different colors of people, different ethnicities, all of it. It's a great thing to see. And I get that people who don't want that kind of change are scared, and they're acting out of fear, but it's going to happen now, or it's going to happen. I mean, it's inevitable at this point. For a change like that to happen, there needs to be a system of pure equality. And I feel like we're getting off topic a little bit, but like I said, had I not been had I not taken that one picture, what was it, of Paxton, would have never got your attention for Steve's book, would have never gotten to take the pictures for the book, would have never, moved to Rochester, blah, 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 would have never gotten the guts to stand up for any kind of injustice like that. It builds up. It's compounded effect, one tiny little thing builds to things that you never even thought possible. If you told someone 4 years ago, hey, in 4 years, there's going to be a pandemic and they're going to try and topple the entire inequality system, racism, sexism, all that kind of stuff, they're going to try and end all that all in 1 year. Well, in the first 6 months, you would have been like, that's not, what are you talking about? That's not going to happen. But it did. And it's still happening.
right. We couldn't ever, I say that all the time. There's no way that we could have ever imagined the virus itself. Who would have thought? Like, there was no way. I remember like 3 years ago, I remember getting a message that something big was coming and that many people were going to die. I remember that clearly. That was 2016. It was the same. It was like March, early in 2016. That was the year that we lost all kinds of people, like Prince and who else? We lost, though I could give you a few names, but I can't off the top of my head. Who was it? David Bowie.
David Bowie.
There was like so many stars. I remember that year, everybody saying, wow, and I thought, and I lost Steve too. After that, like he was gone in September. So that year I thought, okay, well, I thought of that as being a fairly small message at the time. Like, yeah, we lost a lot. It's been a rough, 2016 was a rough year. It just was. it was nothing. It was like a little taste of what we're looking at right now. Right now, it's just unbelievable, and none of us could have imagined. It's just, and yet we can focus on all of the negativity and all of the people that we've lost, or we can also look at this other side of it where these kids, I think that was part of it. They were all held back. The government was saying, you can't go to you can't go here, you can't go there, you got to stay at your house, you can't go to school, you can't. And so in the process of this big giant timeout that we've had, these kids have had time to get strong. They've had time to really spend some time focusing on their own belief systems, on their own the what's a good word for it. They're just, I think that the virus was a precursor to what's going on now, because it created this energy of, we got to get out there. Like they've been locked down. They're full of energy. They're ready to get out there and really do
Yeah.
something. So all they needed was a reason. And now they're coming out in strength. And I just think it's all connected.
The way I explain it to Carrie is that the world, the people that are in charge of the world right now are trying to hand the younger generation a world that's almost beyond repair. And at first we were taking it because we were tired, and public schools and stuff like that, they drain you of everything. I remember in high school just being so just mentally exhausted that I didn't want to do anything else. And then you take them out of that and you put them in their room for a month or two, and they're like, okay, this is enough. I actually want to do something about this. I'm going to change the whole system. The problem is that no one ever thought that they would unite the way that they did. You go online and you look at these pictures of just streets, blocks filled with people, filled with young people that you never thought. Introverts, it's a big thing for people our age to be introverted. They would literally not ask a person at Walmart. They will not ask for ketchup at McDonald's, but they will punch a police officer in the face for doing things they shouldn't do. It's I never would have expected it. It's baffling to see people that I thought were terrified of just being alive to literally fight injustice physically, like mentally, emotionally. They're just on the streets, and they've got to be exhausted at this point. I don't know. It's inspiring. It's motivating, and I didn't think we would get here that fast. I thought it would take a couple more years, but they're not having it. It's great to see.
No, it's part of this whole movement that started a long time ago. It's these kids coming in. They were coming in, and they're super sensitive, and that's where all that shyness and the introverted comes from. All that sensitivity it creates. Like, I've been that way since I was born. I've watched my kids, my mother. I've grown up in this, and so I know what it's like to not want to be in public school. To have every time somebody looks at you funny, you always feel like the outsider. For one thing, they look at you funny. The lights, fluorescent lighting, any kind of crazy lighting, it causes a migraine. Strong smells cause a migraine. The foods that they're feeding us, which are usually horrible. So, they're introverted for a reason, because they haven't learned how to deal with life on planet Earth. Truly, it's difficult. It's like being an alien. Your body is just overreactive to everything that's here. And yet, as they're, whatever this is, whatever kind of sensitivities that they've got going on and whatever they've been hiding from, this is bigger. This is like, I got my mission now. I know something in them. The light switch just went off, and they just woke up, and they're like, I got to do something about this. I can't just sit back anymore. And this is what it's like, a wake up call to all of us. So we're waking up to what we came here for, that we're advancing at a great speed right now, and we can't continue. We need to learn to love each other and to accept our differences, and to not only accept them, but to what's the word? Celebrate them.
Embrace them.
Celebrate the fact that we're different. So I'm proud of it. I don't want to spend the whole night talking about it, but I'm really, really proud. At first, when I saw you and Caroline going out there in Atlanta, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to get hurt. And then the second part of me, the better part of me went, I am so proud of those kids for standing up for what's right. So I just need to say that.
All right. Intermission. I'll be back.
Oh no, he's gonna leave me. Okay.
No, I'll be right back. Yeah, keep him company for a second.
I can keep him going. You know me, I can talk all day. I do this every day. So I'm gonna look and see who's here. I see Linda Lemieux. Thank you so much for joining us. All of you, Carol Allen, Wendy, Hope, Wellington Marshall, Cheryl Ann, thank you for being here. Sharon Boyle. Hopefully I don't miss anybody. The other day I was on live with Cheryl Ann, and all of a sudden, if you ever watched that, my head turned to the side because a bear went walking up the street. So if I get distracted and you see my head go that way, the bear's back. Is that Sammy? Sammy is here. Sharon Boyle said that. Isabel. Sally De La Rosa, who's going to be on our show coming up soon on Monday. Let's see, Ruth Bradford. I think I got y'all. And if I missed anybody, that's everybody that's at Enlightened Living, which is the only one. I'm not good at being, not a good multitasker. So if I missed you, I'm sorry. Linda, I think staying inside during the virus helped kids want to get back. Let's see, back into social activities. You're right. They're getting back into social activities like never before, but this is a social activity that's kind of like the virus. It's kind of like a second wave. They're not just going out to go to the movies and hang out with their friends. They're going out and they're standing up for what they believe in. So it's really powerful. Sharon Boyle, monumental year for sure, for sure. This year, okay, I thought 2016 was a monumental year. It was nothing. That was a precursor preparing us for this year. This year is the year that we've really seen some wild, and I'm just happy to be here. This sounds crazy, but I am like, I feel blessed and honored because this is a gift to be alive. I volunteered for this. I'm thankful to be here to do the work that I came here to do. What else we got, guys? I'm peeking. Ask if anyone has any questions. Yes, Gerald Ann. Caleb is an amazing soul, well beyond his years. I want to go back for a few minutes. If you have any questions, Caleb, please feel free. I want to go back in time just a little bit because I really, like, this is Steve's show. It really is. He's the one that decided. I really feel like he's very connected to me. I don't know where he starts and where I leave off anymore. And I feel like this is kind of his show. And you really, Caleb, were, man, right after he died and when I started, Paul was the one that worked with me as a healer, Paul Wyrostek, who was here a couple of weeks ago. But as we were coming through the healing, we started working on this book. And then I was like, okay, I see a picture. I'm like, Paul and I are trying to figure out who's going to do some kind of illustrations, who's going to do the cover. And all of a sudden I see this picture that Caleb has done, and I'll have to post it sometime. Well, she probably doesn't want us to. But the reason that I was so drawn to that picture was the way that you capture the light. It felt like it was exactly right for what we wanted. I wanted something that was a little bit maybe mystical, magical in a little bit. But the way that you caught the light in that picture and her personality was so magical. And then, yeah, I'm getting to you. Then, how old were you? 19?
I want to say it'd have to be 18.
18.
Because I just turned 22.
You'd never left Georgia. You went to New York once, right? But you really had never flown on a plane.
Well, I've been to I haven't never flown on a plane. I've been to a couple other states, but never like out of the southern states.
I call you up, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fly you to Boston. We're gonna take pictures. We're gonna work with this man that you've never met. You didn't really know me that well, honestly. We didn't live in the same state. I knew you as a little guy, and we had kind of connected over photography, but you really didn't know me that well either. And
well, that's not completely true because you got to look at where you live now. Because back in 2016, when at Steve's Memorial, we were at that park.
That's right.
Like a couple of steps down the street, and that's when we connected over photography. And I showed you how to use the camera a little bit. And that's when, I think maybe a year later, maybe not even that probably, you're understanding it because you put me on a plane. I had never flown before. I had to drive through Atlanta, get on a plane, which I'd never been on a plane before, flew all the way to Boston, and then got off the plane. And then Paul was there and you were there, and then that was it. And then it was like a week, I think a whole week's worth.
I love the connection too. It wasn't just me. Like, I'm waiting for you. I'm your aunt. So So it was like, well, you knew to expect me, and I'm like watching for you, and it took forever. I'll tell you what, we were wandering around. It took forever, and then you start calling me. You're like, I'm back in here someplace. I don't know how to get out to where you are, and I'm like, I can't come back to where you are. There's, they won't. There's security. I can't. You got to find your way out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this kid? I had not even thought. When I asked you to come and do that, I just didn't even think about the fact that you'd never even been on an airplane, and yet you did it. You like send you a plane ticket. You were brave enough at your age, you didn't have any experience on that at all. Look, I just got on a plane not that long ago, a couple of years ago, and it was my first time since I was 16, and I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to fly. People are supposed to fly. Like, what am I doing on this? You were 18 years old, and somehow you got yourself on that plane. And Atlanta airport is insane. You managed to make it to Boston in one piece, and then you get off the plane. You've managed to find your way to us, and immediately Paul comes over to you, introduces himself. Do you want to tell that story? Because that was kind of cool. You guys
Yeah,
had
because he said something, but I can't remember what it was.
My name's Paul. Nice to meet you.
No. It was something. He made some kind of stupid dad joke or something.
Figures.
I'm pretty sure because he made He made another stupid joke when I was leaving. We were getting on the plane to leave. What?
There was something. What was that?
I don't remember the one he said when I got off the plane, but the one when I got back on the plane to leave.
It was security. Do you remember
that?
Yeah,
it was because. Yeah, when I got back on the plane to go back home
from the rubber gloves. Yeah.
Yeah, he said, now you know that when you go back through security to leave here, that they put on the rubber gloves and they check you. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, they got to make sure you don't have anything, hidden. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he kept a dead face the whole time. He never even blinked. And that was it. And he was like, I'm just kidding. I'm like, okay.
The truth is that was the first time that Paul and I had ever met either. So it was like, we just get in the car and we drive. I meet him where did I meet him? In Rhode Island. I have a rental car. I let him drive because I wasn't going to drive with Paul in the car. He gets in the, thank goodness he's a really good driver. But here we're just meeting. We're writing a book together. We've been writing this book together. We have had many sessions. We've talked a lot on the phone, and yet I really didn't know him either. So I picked him up in Rhode Island. He took me to a beach or something to show me some of his area. And then I get in the car and we head to Boston. We're wandering around the airport. We don't really even know each other. And then you get off the plane. When the three of us got together, it was like Larry, Curly, and Moe. The whole time that we were together, I have never laughed so hard in my life. It was just constant. Sometimes I would get so tickled over the dumbest thing and I just laughed because I just couldn't stop laughing. I don't know what it is between us where that energy was, but it was just absolutely a blast. I don't know if you remember that.
But I remember a lot of it. I remember the castle, Gloucester, whatever you want to call it.
Gloucester?
I remember we stopped at that cafe and I told them that they didn't have their open sign flipped, and they were like, yes, because we're closed. And I was like, oh, all right. They still gave us food. Mm-hmm. So that was nice.
One. Do you remember how Paul would call on Universal Oneness when we couldn't find a parking spot too? Like he'd be calling in all the powers of the universe so that we could find a parking spot in Boston or wherever we were going. It was so fun. We went looking at the Pirate Museum. We were looking every place to try to find cool pictures, and the beaches were amazing. Like that was really such an experience. It was so much fun. And I feel like the reason why I'm bringing that up is I feel like that energy, that fun energy was instilled in the photography that you did. The cover of the book to me is the most beautiful. Like I just, if you don't even read the book, you just get the book to lay on your table, how can you do any better than something like that? That photography was absolutely incredibly, like it's as important. And then the way that you put the effects and things on it. I'll show another page just because it's all backwards and I apologize. But the photography in the book was all you. So it was like, yes, I helped write it. I did a lot of listening to Paul's lessons that he taught, the things that he was teaching everyone, and kind of translated it into a way that is channeled in a lot of ways. The messages that Universal Oneness, God, Source wanted to get through came through in simple little parables But the energy of the book is you and me and Paul in that laughter and that, what's a good way to put it? Just this healing. There was so much healing in the writing of the book. It was coming out through, really, I started writing it by probably May of 2017, and Steve had died in September of 2016. So there was a lot of times in that book where I just was way down at the bottom and working my way back up, and way down at the bottom and working my way back up. And so that energy of healing, of the work that Paul was doing with me and the work that I was doing on my bathroom floor is instilled in the book. So it's not even the words to me. The first time I held one of those, I was like, there's energy in this book that's incredible. So you're a part of that. That's why I'm saying all this. You're a part of that. Your photography creates energy in the book, and it creates energy wherever you go. The work that you do, it's your gift. I'm reminding you that again. This beautiful photography that you do, the way that you capture the light. I sit there sometimes, you post pictures and I'm like, my gosh, how does he see that?
Stuff recently, the latest one, I think. Can you imagine if we had that access to that during when we were creating Anchor Light? It would have.
We got to go back to Boston. That's it. We're gonna go do it again. What do you think?
Oh yeah. It doesn't, because like I was so burned out that it's. I mean, obviously it's hard to look back now with all the seizure stuff, but even before that, it was hard to look back because I was so burnt out on life already that I can't even remember. I remember it being nice, but I don't remember how nice it was to be able to get away from that. I was burnt out creatively. They were just dragging me through the mud and trying to freelance in a place where freelancing in photography was in small town Georgia. They want pictures. They don't want art. They just want you to take a picture of them going, and it's so dumb. But Anchor Light gave me a chance to change that, and ever since then it's been like, how can I get far away from people who just want pictures? I don't want to take your picture. I want to create things that make people feel good, and especially with the latest stuff and stuff in Anchor Light. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
good. And I want you to go into that for a little bit. It's 7:42. You got a little bit of time if you so choose, and you can decide. You can say no. So you've got a big story. Your story really started at birth with some issues, and it's continued on even though you've overcome. You're this huge overcomer. You've got this great story to tell, which you have told a number of times in different ways, but not everybody here has listened to that story, and now you've got a new challenge. So if you want to kind of address some of that right now to kind of give a background a little bit on yourself.
Yeah, I feel like being diagnosed at birth is one thing, but I guess it wasn't enough, obviously, because the universe is like, hey, I got something new for you. Just take it, be gentle with it. Which is weird because now I'm gonna have to incorporate that into the second book, which I kind of wanted to change that one anyways. For this completely irrelevant. Back in November of last year, and I don't think I've told this story. I haven't told it out loud, or at least in social media at least. Back in November of last year, I found myself constantly zoning out, and there's no other way to describe it except I would be there 1 second, and I would be just completely gone the next. And I noticed it was anytime I played music or anything like that, didn't think anything about it. But as the months passed, it got worse and worse and worse. And then it started affecting me physically to the point where I would just be spinning in circles. And you guys visited after we had gotten settled down in an apartment and gotten cats and everything. And then I had a seizure when I was asleep. And when I went to the doctor, they're like, hey, it's probably just this medicine you're taking, might be stress. We can't do anything about it until you have a second one anyways. Just eliminate the medicine that you're taking, try to, remain stress-free, and then see what happens. And sure enough, second one comes when I came to visit you a second time. Came up here to visit you guys that time. We were on the hike. And to say that it's uncomfortable is like a complete understatement. That is the single strangest feeling on the entire planet. And I was telling Carrie that I don't want to say it's just seizures because I don't know any other, there could be other things that happen to people psychologically that make them feel that way. But when you're having a seizure, it literally feels like you're going somewhere else. It feels like your brain or whatever's up there, your astral form, whatever you want to call it, is just gone. You're taking off, you're leaving, and then you're coming back. At least I hope every time you come back. Otherwise, that would be terrifying. But yeah, so I have these seizures that are caused by music, and I did some research because it was such a specific thing. There's not many things that it could be. And sure enough, when I went to the neurologist, they said, yeah, you've got this type of epilepsy that is caused by music. It's caused by rhythm. And unfortunately, a lot of things generate rhythm. Your heartbeat generates rhythm, clocks ticking generate rhythm, your footsteps, any of that stuff. If I focus on it too much, if it's too loud, it's all I'm able to hear, to the point where I'm just gone for like 30, 45 seconds, and then I'm back. But that 30 to 45 seconds, there is this huge disconnect. Everything goes right here. The entirety of who I am, because we're people. We're fully physical people. We have fingers, we have toes, and I feel like your soul does its best to spread that existence out throughout your physical body. So once you get stabbed in the toe, you feel it in here. But when that happens, it all goes to a point, it goes here. It goes to where you could focus on one point, but that's all you can focus on. So your arms go numb, your legs go numb. You can't focus on anything else. So that's what we're dealing with now. At first, it was a congenital disorder at birth, and now it's the fact that any kind of music or a heartbeat that's too strong, because exercises, if you run too fast, your heart starts beating, any kind of stuff like that, sends you into this thing. And I don't want to say it's a good thing, because that'd be stupid to say that that's a good thing, but it's definitely something that has put a lot of other things into perspective for me, because I'm only 22 years old. I'm sure I've got at least 30 or 40 more years before things start going dramatically downhill. But to be this young and have something that affects you on a level where it makes you question your entire existence, because they put you on medication that makes you question reality, it makes you unsure of what time it is, it makes you question all aspects of the physical world. When you're young and you have something like that affects you in that way, it makes you uncertain of anything, and it teaches you about yourself. It's like it puts you in a debate room. It puts you at a table with yourself and the physical self. Because when you say, oh, your photography is great, my photography is not great. So when you tell me my photography is great, it goes to my ego, who says, oh, thank you. When in reality, it's, the other one who's like, it's not great, it's not bad, it's just, that's what I see. So you got these two people who are arguing, and now one of them just can't, it's a constant debate, and now one of them is like losing. It goes back to the young people fighting for injustice and stuff like that. Literally, their egos are, they can't function. That's why they're so angry, because they're literally having a debate in their mind, and they're transcribing that into the physical world. Their egos no longer have full control over what they do. It is now their higher self who is saying, hey, we're not going to put up with this anymore. Here's how things are going to be. I control you now. Here's how it's going to happen. And I feel like the seizures have put that into perspective for me. They're like, hey, you will not live your life like this anymore. If you do, we'll make you shake violently until you can't move. Here's how it's going to be. And you're going to do it, or we're going to have issues. So that's just, I feel like that's what it is. It's the universe going, hey, you're not doing this anymore. I'm sorry. It was fun while it lasted, but here's how it's going to happen. So that's the whole seizure thing.
I think we're not there's no more subtle wake-up calls. It's not just your physical body. It's funny how you're actually mirroring what's going on in the world. Like we're just not getting subtle wake-up calls anymore. It's like, nope, you're gonna have a virus that's gonna take out millions. You're gonna have, it's like, hello, wake up. You got to take better care of the planet. We're gonna make you all take a time out so that the planet has time to heal. And then maybe there's too much population, so it's time to cut that population a little bit. So a lot of people are gonna die from this. Some of these natural disasters, things like that. It's like, hello, if you're not going to fix this if you're not going to do better, then we're going to have to help you learn how to do this. And your body is kind of doing the same thing. It's funny how our little cells are actually mirroring what's going on a much larger level. And that's kind of what you were just saying.
It's like your head is made of a door that's made of wood, and there's a knock at the door, and it's like, hey, you're done, get out. And your ego's like, oh, but please, I want to keep doing this. And it's like, no, go right now, out. And you don't have a choice because they're kicking in the door at that point, and you're gonna get out, or you're gonna get taken out, and that's just how it's gonna be from here on out. So
Yeah, I would.
that's,
I feel like maybe you and most every, I would like to be remind, and I don't know if this is good or not, but it feels as if maybe we're being pushed into more time of being quiet, more solitude, more getting within a little bit, more, um, really more getting within. We've been given this huge wake up call. Humanity cannot continue to do things the way that we've been doing it for so many generations and so many, like just back as far as the beginning of humanity on this planet. And so we're absolutely, it's just going to change. It's not even going to be, we've had our time to do things gently, to try to figure it out, to do things slowly, and it's not getting done fast enough. And so it's kind of the same thing with you. It's like, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. And you're like, yeah, I'll get to it. My kids do that all the time. It drives me crazy. I'll be, Abby, would you do that? Yeah, I know. And then 2 hours later, Abby, did you do that? I know, and it's kind of like humanity is, our kids are our greatest teachers anyway. Humanity's been doing the same thing. You got to do this. You got to fix this. I know. I'll take care of it tomorrow. I'm not that concerned about it today. And now it's like, bam, like, you're not going to do it tomorrow anymore. You're going to do it today. And I don't know how you feel about it, but my sense is that we're only scraping the surface. We're getting some pretty huge wake-up calls, and it feels as if humanity has still got a lot of waking up to do. And unfortunately, we're going to be along for the ride. If we stick around on the planet, we're going to be right here for the ride. And so I highly recommend you get some solitude and meditate. I'm just going to say that quietly. Get inside there, spend a lot of time getting to know that deeper part of you that's giving you that wake up call. It's like, hello, I'm here too. Yeah, the ego's had control for a long time. What else is in there? No, that's my sense for what it's worth.
I don't know. It's definitely been a lot louder. I had solitude for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I think it's the what is the opposite of ego?
I always considered it your higher self, but everybody's got a different name. It's that, to me, it's at the soul level. It's that part of you. We deal in ego. Ego is like, oh, this is my name. This is my social security number. I've been told to believe in this. I've been told everything about myself for a really long time. And then you got that other part of you that's all wisdom, that's been like, it's not been affected by life at all. It's the part of you, it's the essence that never dies. And so that part of you has patience beyond belief, has no hate, has no lower vibrational energy whatsoever. And then somewhere, I'm not saying that you want to be all the way over there. I'm saying that what we're going through right now is pulling that ego into alignment. We don't want to just get rid of the ego. The ego is useful. It's protective. It's who I am. I came here to be this person. So I'm not saying, and some people will just say, well, I just don't want the ego at all. I'm saying I want my ego to start listening a little bit to that wiser part of me, the part of me that actually has it going on. And I work really hard at that so that I can continue to grow and learn. And maybe we're just in a phase now where we're all kind of shedding parts of our ego that are no longer useful to us, humanity in general. We've already learned these lessons. That's how I feel. That's how I see it. We've had so many generations, eons and eons of lifetimes where humanity has learned these tough lessons. And now we're coming to a place where maybe we don't got to learn those lessons anymore. I'm hopeful. That's what I think.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that I think it's the higher self's taking control. It doesn't want solitude. It wants to take action. And that's, you got lines of young people who are sitting on the ground for 8, 9 hours, 10 hours a day, screaming and supplying others with, we sat out there and watched them. We would have teams of people come in with gallons of water and food for other people. They don't have to, they're not worried about money. They're not worried about where they're going to live. They just want change. And I think that's definitely a higher self thing because, well, what's stopping them from doing that, the last 10 years? There's nothing. It's just
They
that
got
the
to
higher
make
self
the
has
call
decided,
today. Mhm.
hey, we're doing this now. It's time. There's no time for solitude. There's no time for quiet. We're going to be loud and see if that works because solitude's great. Being quiet's great. Finding out who you are, great. But if there's one way to figure out who you truly are, it's to see if you're going to fight or if you're going to not fight.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I don't know. That's
I
just how
agree. Yeah. I think we're totally agreeing on that because for me, it's like, yeah, we've got to have action. We got to get out and we can't just sit on a pedestal someplace and just expect everything's just going to happen. We're definitely here for action. So it's like getting into that space of getting yourself grounded, taking care of yourself so that when you go out there, it's not causing the body to freak out and things like seizures. It's like, okay, I'm in pretty good shape, so I can manage this right now and taking care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You gotta love yourself. You gotta take care of yourself a little bit so you're not stressing the body out so much that it's gonna scream back at you.
Yeah.
And we have gone. It's 7:56, Caleb. We didn't get our other guests in here, and it's okay. I'll just bring him back another time. My sense is he's from South Africa. He's probably has no signal. Something big was going on, and it's okay because I'm so glad. There's always divine timing. Everything is supposed to be the way it is for a reason. Just so happened that you're here with me in my house this time, and it was your week. It was supposed to be all yours, Kayla, because you shared so much fantastic information, incredible wisdom with us, and it shows us that young people are coming into the world to make a difference. And so I'm so glad to have been able to just sit here and just share the time with you so that people can hear and experience that deeper wisdom that's coming into the planet through our young people. So tell me, as we're closing, is there anything that you're working on right now that you want to share, or anything that you've got, and anything that you need to share with the audience, so that, and if there's anything that you're offering, like if you've got something that you want to say, yeah, if anybody needs photography, if anybody needs help writing a book, anything like that, you get the next few minutes to share whatever you'd like to share.
I don't really. That's the thing. I don't really have anything. I got the two books that are floating around in Publishment Cosmos. I'm not really. I don't have a business plan or anything. I'm kind of just, you know, doing it at this point. If anyone needs anything, feel free to message me. But at this point, I'm kind of just taking the next few months to figure out which way I want to go, which direction I want to take these things, because I know what I'm good at. I know what I love to do. It's just about trying to figure out how you go about doing it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I mean, I'm not, for the first time in like 6 or 7 years, I'm like, oh, I'm doing everything right. I don't have to worry. I don't have to, stress over what's next. I kind of just have to, go to sleep at night, eat in the morning, eat at night, and then drink a lot of water. So
Yeah, and
I,
take
I've
it.
got nothing.
Yeah.
I do
Well, you
should
got every.
probably,
That's
yeah. That's
wrong because.
I've done everything. I I earned. I don't want to say a vacation because it's definitely not a vacation, but I've gotten to the point now where I've written two books. I've taken great pictures. I've plowed through the majority of college, and now I just wait for
Mhm.
stuff to happen.
Let it
Um,
go.
I, yeah,
That's what I say. Let it go and just let it happen. That's what I've fallen into that too. And it's like, you know what? When I stop trying to make it happen, I got all this stuff, all this experience, and now I'm just waiting. So anytime you get to put your face out there, your voice out there, people are going to hear you. You've got a special message. You've got this beautiful energy about you. And I would expect that maybe some people come looking for you, want to talk to you, just from opportunities like this. So I am very grateful to you for being here tonight. I'm grateful. We really didn't check in much with our audience tonight, but I'm so grateful to all of you. Katori, I see you made it in. I think
yeah. I
I
don't get
said
to see
thank
any of
you
the
to all of
comments.
Luann. Yeah. We don't have a lot. Deirdre, she popped in. Angie Taylor, you guys are awesome. Erin Robertson, thank you so much. Yeah, she's talking. You and Erin should talk to each other. She was on the show the other day. Um, she suffers from PMDD, so a lot of your symptoms she suffers too, and she does animal communication, so she's pretty incredible. Um, Caleb, Deirdre says you nailed it. Ruth says thank you. Caleb gives you. Gerald Ann says you give her hope for the future. Excellent. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to pop off because it is now 8 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. I have Terry Angel with me next week. So it'll be next week at 7 o'clock. After that, thank you, Kella, for joining me tonight. You've been an excellent guest. And he's
Yes, I'll pop on sometime. Yeah, in the near future. Maybe.
Go get
All right,
yourself
bye.
some food. All right. Take care,
Yes.
everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye. Oops.